and punishable by anyone. And finally, most islands and colonies were now regularly administered by the mother country, meaning, of course, that there was much adjudication, there was much protection of the colonies, and therefore pirate attacks decreased as well. But yet we see, in the mid-20th century especially, the crime of piracy rearing its ugly head once more. One of the reasons was the end of the Cold War. There were no more superpowers patrolling the oceans as years before. Local nations, smaller nations, now must deal with what was before an international matter. The second reason why piracy has disappeared in modern times is that today's pirates use mobile phones, satellite navigation systems, VHF, ship-to-shore radio, faster inflatable boats, and even Japanese outboard motors. Technology has indeed been a reason for piracy increase in the 20th and 21st century. Along with the end of the Cold War and the innovations in technology, another reason is the fact that crews today on large ships number only 15 to 20 people. Because of automation, there is less a need for large crews upon oil tankers or container ships. It makes it very easy then for pirates to attack and hold the crew at bay. Today, these pirates are not deterred by deep water. They set out in what are called motherships, large ships that go into the deep water. One vessel lately was captured some 450 miles off the coast of Somalia by pirates. They got out there by the mothership, then smaller ships were lowered, the pirates boarded and were able to attack and hold as hostage the ship off the coast of Somalia. And finally, a reason for the increase in piracy in the late 20th and 21st century is something that we can all identify with: the cost of fuel. The cost of fuel today slows a ship's speed to between 14 to 18 knots instead of the usual 22. Going slower, and even slower through certain straits like the Strait of Malacca between Indonesia and Malaysia, it's a sitting duck for pirates to attack. Piracy is a movable crime. And indeed, there are certain parts of the known world in which piracy is most common. The Straits of Malacca, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, located between Indonesia and Malaysia, are dotted with tiny islands. And after the pirates attack these ships, they hide and fence their goods in these thousands of islands off the coast of Indonesia. East Africa, specifically Somalia and the Horn of Africa, lately, it has been the hotbed for piracy. In West Africa, the rich Nigerian oil reserves have been a target of pirate terrorism. In Bangladesh, in southern Iraq, near the Basra oil terminal, ships at anchorage have been taken over by pirate terrorists. And yes, even in the Caribbean, yachts and private boats have been taken over. Killed were the owners of these boats, and if they were lucky, the pirates would board the boat, take what they considered valuable, and leave the yachts by themselves. This is a map showing not only the frequency, but in 2008 specifically, where most of the pirate attacks took place. You will notice that off the east and west coasts of Africa, in Southeast Asia specifically, more pirate attacks have taken place than any other part of the world. And here is another map showing again the frequency of attacks. And you will notice that the white dots show up most frequently off the east and west coast of Africa and in the South China Seas and the Strait of Malacca. This is the Strait of Malacca, geographically, located between Malaysia and Indonesia. 80% of the oil that goes to countries such as China, South Korea, Taiwan, must pass through the Strait of Malacca. And because they have to slow down their speed, and because of all the tiny islands that surround these two countries, it makes it very easy for pirate terrorism to occur here. In Somalia today, there are 8.4 million people. 3.2 million are in need of humanitarian aid. There are 457,000 refugees, and there's only 4 doctors per 1,000 people. The population with access to clean water is a frightening 29%. Children that are under 5, that are under their height for their age, 38%. The under 5 mortality rate is a whopping 145 per 1,000 live births. And children attending primary schools, an extraordinary small 24% for boys and 20% for girls. This is the Horn of Africa. This is where, day after day, newspaper accounts, periodicals will talk about various ships being hijacked and kept for ransom in Somalia and off the east coast of Africa. On the west coast, it is the oil-rich country of Nigeria, specifically the area around Port Harcourt, where pirate attacks have taken place. This is the Basra oil terminal in southern Iraq, where ships at anchor have been attacked by the brazen pirates. Some statistics, if I can. Today, there are over 30,000 registered ocean-going tankers, general cargo carriers, container ships, and other large vessels plying the sea. Some 80% of the world's trade is by sea. Containers moving goods from port to port carry some 6 billion tons of oil, gold, cars, air conditioners, clothes, and wheat, and other commodities. And the value of these goods totals some 7 trillion US dollars. Who are these pirates? Where do they come from?